Why don't we take all the comments at this time? Go ahead.
My name is Grant Vertigal, and I am proudly representing the chapter of Hanford FFA. Our chapter has 1,056 members. Before high school, I was the shy, quiet kid at the back of the class, the one who didn't really know what he wanted to do in life and didn't really know who he was. Upon entering into FFA and entering into high school, I found myself. I found a new courage, a knowledge of agriculture. I mean, I grew up around agriculture, but never really understood the impact about it. And I've also learned many valuable skills. I have competed on an array of judging and speaking teams that have helped me develop who I am and find out what I want to do. Before entering high school, I had no clue what I wanted to do in the future. But after my first year, after competing on several of the judging teams, I decided I wanted to become an agronomist. This program has helped me define who I am and what I want to do. I have earned many valuable skills, such as the confidence to be able to go out and play sports and be a part of my associated student body. I have also been accepted to 3 colleges and am constantly trying to improve myself into making myself a better person. And through this program, I have been able to do so. I have earned many valuable skills that has helped me secure several jobs and internships in many variety of fields and helped me develop who I am. So I ask you guys today to help keep the agriculture incentive grant and to help secure the future of California.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. I'm Evie Starch, proudly representing the Hanford FFA chapter. When I was in 3rd grade, my parents got divorced, and I had the opportunity to grow up on my grandparents' 40-acre walnut farm. So I did grow up within production agriculture. However, much like Grant, who just spoke before me, I didn't really understand the purpose that it served until I got to about the high school age, and I entered within FFA. It really gave me an idea of what kind of impact California and production agriculture has, not only within our state, but within the world as well. And then along with being in the FFA, because my parents were divorced, my father was not around at all, so it was basically me, my sister, and my mother. I have 2 or 3 very wonderful ag teachers, along with the other 4. One of them is here today, and he's been very much like a father figure in my life. And without FFA and being able to know him, I wouldn't have grown quite as much as I did in the past 4 years. So this is definitely a grant to keep within our budget. So thank you.
Good morning. My name is Corey Dominguez, and I'm proudly representing Hanford FFA. When I was in middle school, I was bullied quite a bit, and it came to the point where I was cornered in a bathroom and beat up. When I came into the FFA, I felt very insecure about myself, thinking that it would most likely happen again. But as I got more involved in the FFA, I was able to bring back that confidence level and actually be standing here today speaking in front of this large crowd, and on top of it all, being president of one of the largest FFA chapters in the nation. And my parents came from this organization, and I see how they have grown up and become excellent role models. And without this program, I believe that my parents and myself would not be the way they are today. And my parents are very successful, and I can't urge you guys enough to keep this within our budget. Like, we need this, and I have all the respect for Rudy Salas and for all the people here who are here to support this grant, and I urge you to keep this in our budget. Thank you.
My name is Tynan Hernandez from Corcoran FFA. I'm here to greatly encourage you in supporting the Ag Incentive Grant. It's a great program that helped me and a lot of my classmates, in all reality, most of my school. Without it, we wouldn't have most of the leadership opportunities that we need in order to be the next leaders of America. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Juan Ramirez, and I'm from Corcoran FFA chapter. I would just like to let you guys know that before I was involved in FFA, I had a very little interest in school. Once I did get involved, I began to get better grades in all my classes. I wanted to go to school more to be involved in my activities and agriculture, and now it gave me a sense of direction and what I want to do in my life. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Eleanor Harlan, and I am the chapter president from the Woodland FFA chapter. I stand here before you today as a 7th-generation Californian, a 3rd-generation FFA member. My family has been in agriculture since 1850, and for me, being a part of the FFA organization has let me carry on family traditions and find out that I am personally, I want to continue a future in agriculture, and FFA has really helped me do that. I've competed on livestock judging teams and competed on the parliamentary procedure judging team, and it's helped me develop speaking skills and learning how to speak on my feet. And for me, FFA is a really important organization that I want to keep going. And so I urge you to consider us in your debate about what to do with the funding. So please help us. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joseph Aguilar. I am from the Foothill FFA chapter, and I'd just like to thank you all for giving me this opportunity to speak. And I would like to just start my story by bringing you all to the summer between my 8th grade year and the start of my freshman year in high school. Now, at that time, I didn't really have much of an idea of what I wanted to pursue as far as high school, what clubs or classes I wanted to take. Luckily, my brother was involved in the FFA program in our high school, and he had great success with that. So I thought I should possibly give it a shot and see where I would go with it. And little did I know, from making that simple decision, I was able to take part in numerous community service projects, be a part of numerous public speaking opportunities that granted me this confidence to come and speak today. And without this program and without the Agriculture Academy at my high school, I would not be the individual that I am today, and the one to come and advocate for agriculture itself, an industry that is very important in our state and in our world. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Louis Brown here today as a product of this organization. I came from Hanford FFA 20-some years ago, almost 30 years ago. And so I think it's important to know that the alumni that exist from this program and those who have gone on not only in agriculture but really throughout the country. There are doctors, there are lawyers, there are mayors, there are former congressmen. Cal Dooley comes to mind, who is a former state FFA officer who got his beginnings with leadership development, public speaking, parliamentary procedure from agricultural education, from Future Farmers of America. Those 78,000 students that are in this organization today, they're not all going to go into farming, but they're going to go into business. They're going to go into school and education. They're going to be parents. They're going to be constituents. The leadership skills that students are learning in this program today benefit California as a whole. 78,000 students benefiting, and if you think of the return on investment from $4.1 million that the state will receive from that, this seems like a no-brainer. I think it's been said, I think most of us agree, and Mr. Sala said it, local control for education funding makes sense, but this is a statewide program that has state requirements. And in order for this program to continue to succeed, in order for it to continue to reach the thousands of students it'll reach, we need those statewide standards. So this is not the categorical that we've heard about in the past. This is an incentive-based program that benefits the entire state of California, and as a product of the program, I urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, Jim Ashwan, and I represent the California Agricultural Teachers Association. And it's important to make a couple technical points. First of all, you heard information today that this is a categorical, and it's not. That this is a matching incentive grant-based program. Districts are not required to participate in it. They can offer no ag program. That's their local choice. They can offer an ag program that doesn't apply for any incentive grant money because they don't want to meet any standards. That's their choice. There are districts that are very large that receive a very modest amount of money because they choose which standards they want to meet and get a corresponding incentive to match those. There are other programs who become more committed and make a local choice to meet more of the standards and receive greater incentive grant money as a result. The local control in this program is on the front end. This is not a categorical entitlement that you just get because you have an ag program. That ag program has to perform. There's a nexus, a connection between funding and performance. That's important. It's also very important to single out the idea that California has a compelling interest here. We are the leading ag state with incredible challenges that we're going to face over the next 30 and 40 years. These young people behind us have to be equipped to meet those challenges. And so to suggest that in this oasis that we've been born into and that we live in called California, that we would consider cutting ag education is ridiculous. The final point in closing, you did note, I hope, the comment that this is above the local control funding formula. So when this goes into the base, when local control funding formula is enacted, the hold harmless stops, and the target is not adjusted for the districts that currently get incentive grant. This is a defunding. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Andrea Fox with the California Farm Bureau. We represent nearly 80,000 members in California. 30,000 of those are farmers and ranchers, men and women who grow the great abundance of food and fiber that California so enjoys. Not just California, but the whole United States and many parts of the world. Agriculture is important. Career tech education, agricultural career tech education is vital to the health and strength of our economy and the continuation of agriculture here in this state. As a mom, I understand very well the importance of a strong academic foundation for all of our students, but I also understand very well how career tech education, the agricultural career tech education, you marry the two because one provides the knowledge, the other provides hands-on experience and knowledge to put into practice what they've learned in school. It would do our students, both now and in the future, a great disservice to roll this funding into the local control funding formula and thereby make schools choose whether or not they can have those kind of programs because they have to fund something else. So we sincerely, the California Farm Bureau sincerely urges you to recommend that the funding for the Ag Incentive program continue and also career tech education continue for California students. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Could you all line up closer to the mic so less? Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I thought you were all there.
Can I, are you going to ask for comments about the SSP program as well, or is this the time to make those?
This is the time for SSPs also. So please.
Good morning. My name is Chris Vetrano. I'm vice principal at Windsor High School, which is in the wine country just north of Santa Rosa. I'm here this morning to represent the 67 high schools in California that have begun to create SSP programs and want to bring them to fruition. I ask you to keep the SSP programs out of the LCFF. I believe I bring a unique perspective to you today, and that perspective is both historic and absolutely hands-on. I have 22 years of SSP experience. Coincidentally, this year is the 20th anniversary of one of the first SSP programs in Sonoma County. In 1994, when computers were just beginning to take over the world, a group of teachers founded the ArtQuest Academy with an SSP grant. Since then, countless of art, digital media, animation, video, music, and dance students have gone on to become outstanding professionals in their fields. To this day, the ArtQuest program draws hundreds of inter-district requests. I am positive that none of this would have happened without the SSP grant in 1994. When I came to Windsor High, I was involved in 2 more SSP grants, the Digital Media Academy 12 years ago and the Pre-Med Corps 8 years ago. Digital media students have gone on to work for Apple, Nike, Google, and Pixar. The Pre-Med Corps attracts students who want to become doctors, but serves all medical professionals such as nurses, X-ray technicians, EMTs, firefighters, and even police officers. This year, we had 74 more requests than we had room to admit. If you meet these students, they would wax eloquent about the twice-a-year shadows they do at local hospitals. Students have observed countless surgeries, births, and even a death in the emergency room. If you collapse this program into the LCFF, it would mean that all schools would receive a tiny percentage of the SSP funds. Rolling non-competitive funding into LCFF would be the equivalent of dropping a feather into the Grand Canyon. New programs, such as the one I described, may never begin. The SSP grant is unique because it challenges educators to think outside the box. Okay. So last year, 500 schools applied and 67 planning grants were granted. These 67 grants should have the ability to continue and implement their programs. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. This is for the agriculture education as well as the specialized secondary programs. Please.
My name is Sarah. I'm a mother of 4. That's all that I represent today is my children. My 3 oldest children have participated and are participating in the agriculture program in Elk Grove High School. I have observed firsthand a tremendous change not only in my children, but the children altogether. I've never lived on a farm. My children have never lived on the farm, but they still get to participate in this wonderful program. My son is now going to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo to participate in agricultural education there. He's received several grants and scholarships for his participation in the program. This program is beyond educational. It provides leadership skills. The meetings that you go to where these kids just take charge is unbelievable. After school on the farm and during school on the farm, these kids put down their devices. They're in poop. I couldn't get my kids to do these things at home, but they just roll up their sleeves and they just go in there and they get their work done. And it's completely run by the kids. There's staff oversight, but this program is just phenomenal. And I couldn't say how disappointed I was to hear that any money would be taken from this program. It's just a great program. Children from all different economical perspectives get to participate, and it's just a wonderful way to learn leadership, hard work, the educational perspective about agriculture, and project management, interestingly. Project management is a big skill here and just gets them ready for college and the next step. So thank you for listening today.
Thank you.
Real quickly, I'd like to address the SSP issue. One of the things that is most rewarding about ag education is kind of this integration of rigorous academics in the ag sciences in those areas, as well as the hands-on. We currently have 1,337 courses approved for A through G. That's 45% of the ag education courses in California. That got its start with an SSP grant at Chowchilla High School. An ag teacher was frustrated about the lack of recognition for the rigor, and several of us encouraged him to apply for an SSP grant. He received it, got some release time to go work with the University of California on a process that would eventually morph into what we have now for this whole recognition system for career tech. Without that incubation money, I don't think we would have the number of career tech courses recognized for UC approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? All right. Questions from the committee? I'd like to start then with the Department of Finance. I think a common theme that seems to run through, whether we're talking about the agricultural incentive grants or the SSP or later with the career technical education in general, is the concern that that notwithstanding the theory of local control funding formula, that if it's a high enough priority for the local district or the local districts to fund the program that they should, the reality is that if the outcomes of career technical education are not required, specifically funded, and measured, then the school districts are not incentivized to fund the programs, and especially where all school districts throughout the state of California are still trying to recover from 7 years of devastating state budget cuts and to restore those cuts. So what I'm concerned and what I'm hearing, again, whether it's agriculture programs, SSP or CTE programs, is that the reality is that districts are saying we cannot fund these programs unless there is dedicated funding, that the state, unless the state identifies these priorities as a statewide priority that should be receiving dedicated funding. I'd like to hear finances respond to that.
Sure. Mr. Chair, Chris Ferguson with the Department of Finance. We would note that under the Local Control and Accountability Plan, that districts must address as one of the included within one of the 8 state priorities, career technical education. We view that as actually a higher level of responsibility to career technical education than we've ever had before, because now districts are being held to an accountability plan that addresses career technical education. Under prior law, this was not the case. So in our view, we actually think that career technical education has been elevated in importance within the accountability plan, and we believe that districts must include that as it is one of the 8 state priorities. They must address this.
I guess I can appreciate that, and I just had a conversation with representatives from the Department of Education on this point yesterday, but the outcomes under LCAP are still being worked out. In the meantime, the maintenance of effort for these programs are coming to an end. Districts are in the process of planning for these programs, and so there's this disconnect, in terms of making this work. And above and beyond that, again, I think districts are coming from a perspective and a culture where they've been primarily judged by their API test scores, and I know that under LCAP, the CTE is going to be elevated or at least be a factor among the 8 statewide priorities. There's still question as to how exactly that's going to be measured, but I think districts are still coming from a perspective where they're having to rehire teachers and address the larger population that in many situations they're saying that they cannot afford to fund the career technical education or the agricultural programs without specific dedicated funding. I just want to make that comment. Any other, Mr. Nasanti?
Sure, I'd like to comment. This is look, I support the concept of local funding. Local school boards are elected to do that job. That's why we have this great program that Governor Brown called subsidiarity, the concept of local control and local governments determining what's best. But this is just to go back and give some reference, we're asking for $4 million
4.1
outside of the LCFF, correct? On top of a grant program. Now, if you remember back when we had discussions on LCFF, the TIG funding. Remember TIG funding? TIG funding is almost $1 billion outside of the LCFF, almost $1 billion, and that's for transportation for desegregation of schools. Folks, we stopped busing kids and desegregation before most of these people were born, over 30 years ago. LA Unified School District gets about $400 million a year. It's important to listen to that, $400 million a year outside of LCFF, and we can't find $4 million for this. That's embarrassing. It's almost discriminatory. LA Unified gets $400 million on top of LCFF for desegregation of busing that we stopped doing over 30 years ago, and we can't find $4 million for this program. That's sad. That's a sad commentary on what we're doing here today. And I hope the committee agrees with Senator Salas. And thank you for bringing this forward. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the committee? Mr. James.
I guess my only question was to finance is, while I'm supportive in general of your direction, how would you allow or ensure that agriculture education grants would continue to be spent in this area? Because obviously it's very important, it's a very specific area of funding, and we wouldn't want to see these programs go away. So while I think it's helpful to move in this direction, I'm very, very concerned that by not having separate grants, that you would basically allow for the decimation of these programs, which is very concerning.
Ed Hansen, Finance. I think as you've seen from public comment, there's a lot of passion and enthusiasm for these programs, and I would think and believe that these students, if they brought that type of enthusiasm and passion to their local school board, that those school boards would continue these programs if they're a successful program and it meets local needs and priorities.
But again, I think students should spend time in class, not at school board meetings. I'm sorry. So we have a difference of opinion on that. I appreciate the audience for being here, but not everybody can take the time out of their very busy schedules and lives to attend meetings such as this or school board meetings. So again, I think the students are better served being in class.
And I agree, Assembly Member, that students should be in class. My general point was the focus of the LCFF is local control and local input, and we would believe that that would continue.
And then to further that point, I would also note that the vast majority of expenditures in the area of agriculture education are teacher salaries, which are not funded with the agriculture incentive grant. The average is roughly $15,000 per school site. The teacher salary is certainly more than that, and schools are funding this out of their general purpose funding today, and we believe that it's highly likely that they'll continue to do so on their own.
I would like to ask Finance, you know, it was just a year ago that the legislature declared that the agricultural education incentive grants and the SSP program were high statewide priorities. Why is the governor proposing to eliminate these two particular programs, but not, you know, the list of other categorical programs that still remain that are in the agenda analysis, including Partnership Academy? I mean, the list on page 2. I mean, why these two particular programs?
The governor's budget last year, when he introduced the LCFF, included, I want to say, all categorical programs. At the end of the day, in the final budget negotiations last June, the administration agreed at the legislature proposed to carve out the Partnership Academies program, Adults in Correctional Facilities program, and foster care categorical programs. The administration agreed to pull those out of the LCFF. I can only imagine how hectic it is at the final hours of budget negotiations, so there may have been some confusion, but the administration did not agree to pull out the Ag CTE program and the specialized secondary program, and thus that's the reason why the governor has a signing message in the final budget act directing staff to take a look at these programs and determine whether they should be continued as a categorical program.